And this is always a tough one. I tend to rule out second year players just
I
as
think
a
that's
rule of
fair.
thumb.
I did the same thing this year because I didn't want to get into the Desmond Bane, Tyrese
Exactly.
Maxey discussions.
Exactly. Who both would 100% have been considered, but that's the year that we expect to see so much improvement.
Correct.
And it's also hard because are we looking at players who are going from actively bad to good, from good to great, from great to superstars? Because every degree of improvement gets harder as you're a better player. So I tend to try to strike a balance between those, but I found that this year's leading candidates for me are all in that star ballpark. So I have Darius Garland at number one. The importance of the role that he's taken on for the Cleveland Cavaliers, where this felt like it was probably going to be Colin Sexton's team with him serving as a sidekick, to this being Darius Garland's team, making life so much easier for Evan Mobley, who scores an unbelievable number of his points off of lobs and feeds from Garland. Same is true of Jared Allen. He took his game to that proverbial next level as a scorer while also becoming, I would say, unquestionably one of the five best passers in the NBA right now. The creativity, the ease with which he diagnoses a defensive set and then can slip the ball right in there before the defense even knows what its set is supposed to be. It is just mind-blowing to watch how much he's grown on the offensive end. We haven't really seen too much of an efficiency downtick, even though he's taken on such a ridiculously more important, more impactful role for a Cavs squad that has also gone from mediocre to legitimately good when the pieces are available. So he ended up in my number one spot. Number two, I have Dejounte Murray. Kind of a similar story without the team success aspect, where this became his team. And the increased importance of what he was doing, along with the growth in so many individual pieces of his game, where he's now this stifling defender who can also lead an offense as a scorer or a playmaker. And when he is functioning as a scorer, he can do it on all three levels. So similar story there. Number three is the betting favorite, Ja Morant, where he has become a flat out superstar. You know, we had those debates about whether you take him or Zion Williamson back when there was this belief that Zion Williamson might play basketball again. And now he's in the MVP conversation. He is arguably the most exciting player in the game. He is the Memphis offense when he's on the floor. He can do absolutely everything. The degree of difficulty of his role, the amount of scouting reports dedicated solely to him, they just don't matter because he's that good. I think you can make a case that even if he hasn't been the best player or the clear-cut MVP this season, that he's been the story of this season when he's been healthy. He has been that central to this NBA season. And it's not just because he's some novelty item. He's just gotten that good. So he's that classic, like 2016 Stephen Curry style argument where he was a star and has gotten that much better to the point that he deserves to be considered for an award that typically goes to players who are making the first leap.
My ballot was eerily similar. I have
That's shocking given how weird this award is.
I have Dejounte Murray 1 because I totally understand the case for Darius Garland here. I have come to view the second and third year cases as very similar to where I'll consider third year, but you are probably supposed to make your biggest improvements between year one and year two, and then year two and year three. That being said, Darius Garland's on my ballot. He checks in at number 3 for me. I have Ja Morant number 2. What's interesting there, I'm backtracking here, is Ja Morant making the leap from just all-star or superstar to MVP candidate. That is the single most difficult.
Yes, absolutely.
And by the way, there's been improvement. Like you can't go under screens on him as readily. The floater game is even more unpredictable than it is now. He's a great decision maker after leaving his feet still. And he got better on defense when he came back from he's injured now, but his first injury this season, I think that was that left knee sprain, whatever, ankle injury, whatever it was. So there was a real improvement there. And the fact that it came on for a team that is now second in the Western Conference, and he was a huge part of that. Miles Bridges for me was the pick when we did this very early in the year.
The obvious pick early.
His game is still diversified a bunch. The efficiency makes me a little bit unsettled that he's never really come up from 3-point. He's under 33% from 3-point range this season. His 2-point percentage is right in lockstep with what he was doing last year. I just don't feel him as much watching him. And when you go, you've kind of seen this progression of where, as the season has gone on, even more of his baskets are coming off assists than before. And that's not to say that's a bad thing, but that became splitting hairs with me. Whereas, so Dejounte Murray is my number one pick. He is someone now who I think you can run the offense through, where it's maybe there's some inherent limitations, but he's hitting the three ball at enough of a clip and on, I'll call it modest volume. He has more unassisted 3-pointers made this year than Julius Randle. That's a big deal. Like, that speaks to how bad Julius Randle's been this season. But like,
I was going to say, are we talking about 2021 Julius Randle or 2022 Julius Randle?
He has his unassisted 3-pointers. I had it pulled up. It was more than Julius Randle by like a few baskets. That's, his efficiency on those. They're good enough to where you're okay taking them. DeMar DeRozan is the only other player in the NBA who has scored more unassisted 2-pointers this year. That is incredible. And I know there are still going to be limitations on defenses. Are going to, if the end result of a possession is Dejounte Murray shooting a 3, let alone Dejounte Murray shooting a self-created 3, defenses are going to be happy. But he is someone who has improved his decision-making when he's running the offense in the half court, in transition. He is not making a ton of turnovers relative to how much the San Antonio Spurs depend on him. And this stat blows my mind. When you look at, this is throughout NBA history, where you've had players, and these are Dejounte Murray's benchmarks, to post a usage above 27, a turnover percentage below 12, while assisting on more than 40% of their team's baskets on the floor. It has happened 4 times. You have Dejounte Murray this year, 2008-2009 Tony Parker, 2008-2009 Dwayne Wade, and 2000-2001 Stephon Marbury. That's it. And by the way, for anyone who doesn't notice this,
that is a weird group of players.
New Jersey Nets era Stephon Marbury was ridiculously good, though.
That's a weird group of players.
It's an incredible. The Dwayne Wade.
Oh yeah, it's a great one. But like, I don't think I've ever heard Marbury, Wade, and Parker grouped together.
And so I look at that, it shows an improvement, because you're talking about someone who is dealing with the highest usage rate of his career, and then also posting the second lowest turnover rate of his career. That's a big deal. And a 40.5% assist percentage, when you're dealing with a Spurs offense, that there's limitations on them too, because they're similar to the Grizzlies, where you don't want this team operating in the half court if you're the Spurs. You want to see them get out and run, and they have the fastest average possession time in the NBA for that reason. I think Dejounte Murray still brings it all together at a higher peak. And this is someone who, when you look at past players who have won this award, Siakam, Paul George, where it's sort of foretold their entry into All-NBA candidacy, John Morant was in that discussion already. MVP is different from All-NBA. I think Murray's about to enter it, or already has entered it. And to make that jump matters more to me. Morant number 2, Garland 3, just by virtue of being in. And you know what? I might move Garland to 2 now, because I don't know how to wait minutes in games.
Told you, huh?
But no, it's mostly just John Morant might not play in 60 games.
Missing time is big here, but I just still view the level he reached as what matters most.
And I think this award, even sometimes more than MVP, like, I kind of not ignore the playing time, but playing time means less in most improved player than it does for MVP for me. I don't know if that's right or wrong. That's just how I'm coming at it. So I'll stick with Morant at 2 and Garland at 3. Bridges.
The only thing I want to push back about what you said is with Bridges, I feel like the not feeling him as much, the effectiveness kind of tailing off was true until recently. This 8-2 run that Charlotte has been on, LaMelo Ball has been playing out of his mind, but Bridges has too. I think he's at like 46.8% on threes over his last 10 games or something in that ballpark. And all of a sudden things are clicking again.
That's awesome. Still not, the season is 82 games long.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying, like, I feel like he's getting back to that early season level that had us so excited about him. But there was a long midseason malaise where he was not there. So I don't think that he's in the top 3. Obviously, he's not on mine. And he's not on yours either. But I did just want to push back a little about the not feeling him as much recently, because I do think that just in time for this play-in tournament, he's starting to turn it back on.
I guess you could say all 4 of the names we mentioned are basically interchangeable. If someone picked Miles Bridges to win it, I'm not gonna.
I would push back against that now, because I still don't know what he is, because he's bookended a lot of better than mediocrity, but worse than stardom with these excellent spurts, as opposed to Garland and Murray and Morant, where I know they've risen to that other level.
The only other name that I think we need to mention here is Jordan Poole would belong in the discussion when you look at what he's been able to do offensively, even on defense. Like when the conversation between Poole and Hero, I guess it could swing on offense if you're looking at finishing and stuff. Like Poole is just worlds better on defense than Hero is at this point. He's the only other name I think I would mention where I think he belongs. He would be my fifth. I'm curious. I don't know.
Unless you want Bane and Maxey.
And yeah, Bane, Tyrese Maxey's in there. I was curious what you thought, though. David Thorpe was on the low post recently and mentioned Jason Tatum. I'm just curious I never even thought about him for this award. I'm willing to consider it. I'm just curious as to what you thought.
I think there's a difference between rising to that level like Morant has. And I would argue that Morant and Tatum are at like fairly similar levels these days and becoming the player you were expected to become. I don't think we knew that Morant had this level to reach. I think we knew Tatum had this level to reach.
It would have to hinge on just his development as a passer, but I thought he had made more of a jump there last year than people thought. And perhaps that's why I'm not just, and I know his efficiency is up in one-on-one situations this year, but it's not like mind-meltingly up. So I thought it was interesting, and him and Lowe went through just a ton of different names, but I thought it was intriguing that Tatum's name popped up.